So I thought I'd slide this one in right from the get-go so I don't get stung for some money. So take a couple of minutes and just sort of digest those acronyms. There's a lot going on there. So anyway, we'll carry on. Okay, so wildfire awareness is not enough. So as you know, I guess we could be defined as the poster child for wildfire due to the fact that we lost our city back in 1908. I don't know if that's something we should be proud of or not, but that's just the way it was. So, you know, since that point, there's been approximately 100 years, or 108 years of awareness. Are we really making strides? Are we getting the message out there? Multiple information-based efforts in the past. And as I said earlier, as an incoming chief, I was ill-informed as to what this is all about. One of the questions is, could this happen again? Or maybe it should be, this could happen again, or now that I've been educated on some level, this will happen again. So we definitely need to be prepared. So there's a picture of back in 1908 after the fire. Okay, so we're not unique in Fernie. As you saw with Toga's presentation, you know, Nelson is another hot topic of discussion in regards to these things. But like numerous other communities in BC, it's a shared problem. Okay, so there's our fire triangle for wildfire: weather, topography, and fuel. Just an interesting point, when I was doing some research here, they say that almost 50% of fires in BC are caused by humans. So that's an interesting stat to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this, because obviously we need to change that behavior. So our ultimate goals: implement widespread risk mitigation to ensure Fernie homes and the ignition zones are less vulnerable to ignition during wildfires, to make Fernie neighborhoods more resistant to wildfire losses, and to prevent the wildland-urban interface sequence from getting established in Fernie. Also, we want to increase the effectiveness of fire control efforts and to increase safety of my staff or BC Wildfire, or whoever it is that's dealing with the issue. So we'll go back now to when we first started looking at these things and tried to figure out how we were going to be proactive and accumulate some funding and some resources to get this program started. So we initially started by applying for a UBCM grant, and we have been successful for actually 3 years in a row. So we've received $10,000 in 16, 17, and 18. That money has gone to great use. In our first year, we found it very challenging, and we almost got frustrated. We spent a lot of time and money on advertising and trying to get the word out there. And when we sit down to analyze year one, we realized that we really didn't make an impact on things. So we had to revisit how we were going to spend that money in year two. And in year two, that's when we started to get some traction. And I would think it probably had a lot to do with the Fort Mac situation. As I said earlier, I've got 2 fire department staff that are involved. They've taken some training. They've got the local Fire Smart representative course under their belts. I think respectively, they probably one individual spends about 20% of their shift time, and the other individual spends about 10% of their time on Fire Smart projects. And we also have the ability to have a consultant involved. So that's that. So neighbors and people are rapidly engaging. Residents are rolling up their sleeves and taking action. Hazards being reduced at home and in neighborhoods. Residents are actually calling us looking for information, seeing how they can get involved. Property owners are understanding the problem and are becoming advocates for the program. Residents are sharing responsibility for this issues. So, you know, everything is actually starting to come together, and we're making some traction. Let's go on here. All right. So this is the program we're following, Fire Smart Canada Community Recognition Program. And as I said earlier, it's a great program. I look at it like self-directed learning, and with my fire department offering support and making people aware and getting through these things. So we all work together to achieve a common goal. It's an 8-step program providing residents with knowledge of Fire Smart practices, a framework for neighbors to organize, incentives for people to work together, guidance from professionals, and assessments of hazards, and providing those with practical recommendations. All right, so here's your pyramid. It's an 8-step process, as I said earlier. We'll quickly go through them. Community contacts FireSmart or a fire department. There's a site visit by an LFR. They do a hazard assessment. The champion forms a FireSmart board. They create the plan, implement solutions, apply for recognition, and renew for recognition. So all these things have come together in one of our communities, and they were presented with a sign and a designation 2 weeks ago. So this is our city here, and you can see that we basically started to surround it with communities that are working towards a recognition or have already obtained it. If I had to look back a year ago, I wouldn't have thought this was possible, but now in year 3, we can see that our hard work is paying off. So we've got a pretty good foothold on things, and hopefully it's only going to get better. Okay, so some of the things we're learning is that FireSmart is adaptable to differing neighborhoods, densities, and wildfire hazards. It's flexible to the varied needs of residents. We can overcome real and perceived barriers. And some of those things are like myths, like people think that we need to rape the forest and you can't plant trees on your property and all those things, which is not true. It builds its own momentum and social capacity for problem solving. It fits with skills and abilities of municipal firefighters, communication, education, and public relations. So what that basically means is our department provides a public ed section. We do fire prevention. And when you think about FireSmart and mitigation for wildfire, it sort of falls in line with what we would do anyway. So it is a good fit. Okay, this is a bit of a busy slide, but it speaks to lots of things. So you see on your left would be the pyramid. We're involved with the first 3 steps. The residents then kick in and they do steps 4 to 8. As I've said, we've got 2 staff members that have taken a lead in this. And with their work with the 9 neighborhoods, we've looked at it, and they're working with about 450 homes, which turns into 900 residents. So when you think about that, we've got 900 people in the city of Fernie actively involved in this process, and they talk, and they're on social media. And we're hopeful that it's just going to spin off, and we'll get a lot more people involved. Okay, so future needs to grow this program. Expanded the LFR training workshop opportunities. We struggle with trying to get some training. We want more staff to get this training, but it's not offered that much. We need to develop support, have a network, maybe an idea exchange center. The materials that we're using for educating our LFRs is a little bit dated, 2013, I believe. So maybe we could get updated information based on lessons learned. We need provincial investment and support, and that is coming. Obviously, you see all the grant funding that's available right now, so that's great, and we're thankful for that. To date, we have been sending staff outside of the province to get some of this training, and that's not to slight anybody, it's just where the courses are at this point in time, so we take advantage of that. It's interesting, there's a gentleman, actually a counselor from the Williams Lake area, who is proposing a resolution for the upcoming UBCM, where he thinks that it's possible to get the insurance companies involved and maybe start offering some incentives to homeowners and landowners that undertake these initiatives. So that's an interesting thing. We continue to cross-train with BC Wildfire. We're continuing to purchase more wildfire equipment specific to suppression and fighting those things. We're looking at reaching out to our trail alliance. Like Nelson, we have lots of trails and they go through a lot of forest land. So engaging those people is a good thing to do. We're also considering having workshops utilizing landscapers, developers, and those sorts of folks, and getting them sort of on side with what it is we want to do and what our vision is to have a fire-safe community. Okay, so if Don's in the crowd, this is the Rosalind Challenge. So he's basically saying a couple of growlers of local microbrew beer to any fire department that can surpass our number of neighborhoods recognized by FireSmart Canada in 2018. So there's a challenge for everybody in the room. And that would be it. Thank you very much for your time.